This video is based on an online presentation I did to a model aviation club in a high school. I discussed the balsa model airplanes I was building and some about the construction techniques and a little bit about the competition classification. These rules try to constrain the model somehow to make it more practical for flying at certain size flying sites. I'm going to start out with discussing the E36 classification, which limits the wingspan to 36 inches and specifies a 2-cell lithium battery. Here you see my Eureka E36, which is a Nostalgia type E36, which has lower performance than the regular E36 classification. The kit that I built this from is not real old, but the design of the airplane is from many years ago. You'll notice that all the wing ribs are parallel and not diagonal, and this is not the most rigid construction compared to a newer design like the jewel box I am holding. The jewel box has geodetic rib structure and uses a carbon boom, which is very stiff but light. The covering material has a lot to do with how rigid a structure is. Here you see I had Esaki Tissue on the Eureka, which is rigid when it's tight, but with humidity it tends to loosen. Frustrated with the tissue, I recovered the wing with Polyspan Lite, which is plenty stiff and doesn't change with moisture, but it rips very easily. I recovered the wing and stab a third time using Ultra Coat Lite, a shrinkable plastic covering which seems to do pretty well in most conditions. I built a Dakota. It's a glow-powered free flight model, which is not very good as far as gliding, but they do hold competition to see how close to 60 seconds flights can be made. I used Esaki Tissue over the wood, but I'll have to use a clear coating known as dope to fuel proof it. Here you see the OK Cub 049 that I will use to power. There's two types of dope, nitrate and butyrate. Usually you'll start with the nitrate and then you'll put the butyrate over that, which is the fuel proof type of dope. I'm also building a half-A Viking, which is a Carl Goldberg model that I can remember from my childhood. I'm covering this with tissue, and then I'm using mylar on the wing, and then tissue will be doped to the mylar to make it really stiff. In building my models, I've been experimenting with different adhesives. Titebond is a very popular glue, and there's different versions of it that have different properties, and I've tried a couple different ones, and there's more to try yet. I've used Duco cement a lot. It's really good for indoor models, but it dries rather fast, and of course it gives off an odor. This is kind of your traditional model cement, which is available at the hardware store. CA, or Cyanoacrylate, or super glue, sets up almost immediately, but it's easy to get in trouble with this glue, and it does have a bad odor. Where maximum strength is required, I use epoxy glue, which must be mixed together and tends to be rather heavy. This is a few of the things I think about when constructing balsa free flight models. People that have been doing this for years have a pretty set way of how they do things and what materials they use for particular types of models.